Show. When we see some comrades are called Mark Gordon integrity boss, and me have to laugh because the amount of shenanigans this man put in front of we and I try to hack smart and undermine our intelligence. Now the whole visa issue, and also this interview with Cliff Hughes and Zara Burton from 18 Degrees North, where Zara Burton stated that she was asking Mark Gordon some quintessential question in terms of his assets, and you know it was all around the place, up so round, so go back round, so and come back round, so instead of answering a direct question. And we have to look on these things and say these things are not surfacing the rightful person. That's why I'm telling you guys, investigative journalism is dead in Jamaica. These TV station, radio stations are more likely as surrogates of the PNP. So certain things we now can bring across to the populace. But luckily we have channel like this, the Phoenix King. We can look for these interviews and highlight it to the populace so they make the right choice and debunk this stupidity about integrity boss. Cause that was craziness. And I just watch this. Leave a like, comment, so ready for talk, subscribe, share, whatever. Bless up. Show.
Well, we should have had this yesterday about now. But then we all know what happened.
Exactly. That was scary. I'm glad everybody is okay. Praise be.
Yes. Where were you when it happened? And what did you do?
Oh, I was in my apartment and I just saw the apartment start to move and I just raced downstairs. I was outside first, right? And other persons came out after me. So, I mean, I jetted down the stairs, right? I mean, I was so shaken up all of yesterday.
Yes.
Just because of the fragility of life. And it really causes you to start. And I hope everybody started to assess where they are with the big man upstairs in terms of their spirituality and where they're heading. You know what I mean? That's, to me, the most important takeaway from yesterday. But so glad we didn't have loss of life, at least none that I know of yet.
True. So, tell us, what did you investigate about the opposition leaders' declarations?
Okay, so this really started with last year. I had started an investigative series on politicians and their offshore companies. And it took me a lot of reporting time. I tend to take some time with these investigations because I'm doing other things in between as well. And sometimes it just takes a hard time to get the information that I need. Anyway, during the whole back and forth this year, because I was getting ready to be able to prepared to ask him certain questions now, the opposition leader, he revealed to me in August that, and this is August this year, that he had not, in his 2021 statutory declaration, that the return didn't, or the return included, let us say, the Garden Boulevard home and some other real estate that he owns with his wife, and intimated and implied that the house I was asking about at Farringdon Drive in St. Andrew wasn't part of his real estate declarations on the statutory declaration form. So I did a double take and I said, hold on a second. This is very interesting. Garden Boulevard, by the way, was his first matrimonial home up in Mona with his wife. He sold that subsequently, and he sold it in 2022. Anyway, nevertheless, again, this was because of my investigation of his offshore companies, including the one, Tajibi, in the BVI. Tajibi owns that house at Farrington Drive. Nice house. So I kept asking, and he said, in essence, the Integrity Commission has always been aware that I used Farringdon Drive as my address when I file my integrity or statutory declarations. And they've always been aware that it's not been filed as part of me and my wife's real estate holdings. So I found that very strange because I'm saying, okay, in the exchanges we've had, you've told me that up until mid-2021, you and your wife were 100% the shareholders, owned 100% shares of Tajibi. And yet, this is not declared. The asset that is held by Tajibi is not declared as part of your real estate holdings that are owned by you and your wife, at least between 2007 when you became a senator and had a duty to report, up to mid-2021 when you said you transferred the shares, 100% of the shares, to your adult children. Strange. I asked the question, did you declare it under a different asset category? Because, there are shares, there are all kinds of categories of assets.
Yes.
And he just would not answer that question.
He wouldn't answer directly. Or he what? He sidestepped it? He what? What did he do? What did he say?
He wouldn't answer that question.
Oh?
He answered a lot of other questions, give him credit. But he wouldn't answer the question about that part of it.
And the specific question you'd asked him?
I would have to go back to the specific question, right? But, and I would have to search for it. It's going to take me a little while. But what I will tell you is, in the story, there was an interesting quote by him where he said, the house is, I'm not the beneficial owner of the house. That's what he said. I'm not the beneficial owner of the house. I was the beneficial owner of the shares.
In Tajibi.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't even know if that's the pronunciation of Tajibi. That's my pronunciation, by the way.
It is spelled T-A-G-E-J-E-B-E.
T-A-J-E-B-E. Registered in the BVI in 01.
And is it a trust registered in the BVI? What is it?
From my understanding and his explanation, let's use his explanation.
Sure.
It's a company. He used the word company. And he said it was established for estate planning purposes. That's what he said.
Oh, sounds familiar.
Very.
Yes. But
very familiar.
But he did not declare those assets in Tajibi. Is that what you're saying?
Well, let me just say this to you. I'm going to read this paragraph of the story. Pressed again as to whether the Farringdon Drive house was declared, since he did have a beneficial interest in Tajibi for most of the year since 2007, when he had a duty to declare his assets, and since Tajibi owned the Farringdon Drive house at the time and still does, he answered, that is not correct. The house is an asset of the company. I was not a beneficial owner of the house. I was a beneficial owner of shares in the company. To treat it otherwise would be double counting, inaccurate, and misleading. Asked if that reference to double counting meant that prior to mid-2021, he did report the assets of Tajibi to the commission, including the Farringdon Drive house. He didn't respond.
So he's giving you a very legalistic response, yeah, based on definitions under company law. That's what he's doing.
Well, I don't know if these are definitions on the company's law, because you might want to speak to attorneys about this, but the attorneys I spoke to, based on the sheet, the statutory declaration form, what is required, they believe that the asset, the house, should have been declared, even if owned by Tajibi at the time between 07 to 21.
And that is a critical thing now. Whether the Integrity Commission's forms, yes, require that to be declared. That's where the story turns, right?
It is where the story turns, and some of the legal persons. I was on Will Rattigan's show recently. He's an attorney. I think he's in the States as an attorney, though not here.
Mm-hmm.
And he thought, no, not necessary. Doesn't need to be declared.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, the question was asked, did you declare the assets of Tajibi, including Farrington?
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't respond to that part either. So I'm also asking myself, were assets in Tajibi, were the shares of Tajibi declared? We don't know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes. And you did put some questions to the Integrity Commission as well about this. Tell us about that.